What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? 49 coming out in another community shoutcast for the AGI Gaming Dota 2 NZ National Tournament. Just loading into game number 3 of the semi-finals between Moving EXP as well as our Yolo brand Swagtronics. After a very climactic game number 2, it's finally gone to the game number 3 showdown with both teams off the back of the Tinker as well as a lot of Dagon back and forth play happening from both teams, with the Tinker eventually proving to be the supreme late game hero as they invested too much gold into burst magic damage, which is immediately countered by the BKBs. It'll be interesting to see if they respect ban the Tinker this time, or if they decide to pick it up themselves. So I believe it's Yolo brand Swagtronics that have access to the first pick. They decide to ban out the Tinker, opens up the draft. Doombringer is now in the pool. He hasn't been picked up at all in any of the games I've casted, usually because he's either banned and the first banning stage or on the second. Once again, Morphling being respect banned out. So the carry player, Shepherthome, or Curry Puffs must be an exceptional Morphling player for them to constantly be able to respect ban that Morphling. Yolo brand Swagtronics deliberating on their first pickup. Tidehunter also is available. Shepherthome in game number 1 was able to play a very convincing Tidehunter who was able to consistently land 3 4-man Ravages, really able to single-handedly win team fights by setting up his team in the best possible position. Will be interesting to see if they decide to opt in for the Tidehunter as their offlane hero again. MX really seem to be favouring the Centaur Warrunner, even though the Tidehunter has made him more or less obsolete. But they're going for the Doombringer, and we're finally going to be seeing the big bad Doom. And the AGI Gaming Tournament will be interesting to see if it's a jungle Doom, an offlane Doom, or a tri-lane Doom. Doombringer has a lot of flexibility and versatility in where you place them in lane, and similar to Nature's Prophet, even if he is shut down in lane, he can find his farm through Devour. And once he hits level 6, if he's able to find a target alone with the Doom as well as Scorched Earth, you can just run them down and burn them. Doombringer is one of the only hero in the game that counters every other hero in Dota 2, including himself, just because Doom turns the hero into a creep. There's nothing they can do. They can't use items, they can't use abilities. It just even disables most passive abilities in the game. Wraith King being picked up by Moving EXP, so probably going to be a support position Wraith King, going to be played by either Emilison or Fresco. They can decide to go for Wraith King Mirana, which is a fairly effective combination, or the Wraith King Ancient Apparition, which is a combination that Yolo brand Swagtronics was able to pull off in game number 1 to great effect. Just because Wraith King runs up front, follows up the Wraithfire Blast, and the 2-second stun as well as 2-second snare from Wraithfire Blast is usually enough in conjunction with the Ice Vortex to ensure that the Cold Feet will proc, and so that gives you a huge amount of lockdown. But Moving EXP really deliberating on the second pickup. They decided to go for the Mirana, so Emilison going to be on that Mirana, being fairly on point with his arrows and has been able to do a lot of work, even if he's just rotating on his own and providing a lot of pressure to the mid lane. Wasn't able to achieve as many kills as he'd like, but at the same time, once he was able to get first blood, Tinker was able to more or less win the lane without Emilison's help, and still was able to pressure the Queen of Pain by at least camping runes and stacking ancients for the Tinker. Yolo brand Swaggins currently going as Curry Puffs +4, deliberating on the second pickup. Will be interesting to see what hero they decide to pick up. Shadow Demon was able to have a huge impact in the last game, even against the Tinker, but this time they go for the Shadow Shaman, just because Shadow Demon's Disruption as well as the Soul Catcher provide a massive amount of teamfight presence. Will be interesting to see if they actually ban out the Shadow Demon. And yeah, there we go. Immediate Shadow Demon ban, just because especially against a hero such as a Shadow Shaman. If Shadow Shaman's caught out with a Disruption, followed with the arrow, the Wraithfire Blast, he is dead. There's absolutely nothing he can do. And since Shadow Shaman's such a slow and squishy support hero, most likely going to be the one that they're going to be focusing, unless he's always hanging out in the background, or if there's another support hero ready to back him up. Visage also being banned out, so fearing the pushing capability coming out from Shadow Shaman as well as the Visage. The advantage of having Doombringer is once he's able to pick up his Blink Dagger, you're immediately able to win a fight with Doom. Blink in, Doom the main hero, kill the others. Once you kill the others, Shadow Shaman and Visage then come into play. Drop them out of Serpent Wards, use Familiars, take out towers, and then accelerate your gold lead further. Invoker being banned out by Yolo brand Swagtronics, even though Invoker's been a bit of a cursed hero so far in the AGI tournament, at least in the games I've casted. Since he requires so much setup for the rest of his team, there's so many conditions that have to be optimal for the Invoker to be effective. Death Prophet being banned out, so they're fearing that Death Ball push power. Ancient Apparition coming out. So it could actually be a one-position Mirana or a one-position Wraith King. One-position Wraith King actually hasn't been all too effective in the games that I've casted, just because you have to constantly be finding kills, constantly being taking towers and creating space. Otherwise, when the late game kicks in, you taper off fairly quickly, unless you have a significant gold lead. Pugna coming out from Yolo brand Swagtronics, an incredibly powerful hero, especially to counteract the heroes such as the Ancient Apparition. If Ancient Apparition uses any of his abilities in range of the Netherworld, he's going to lose a good chunk of his life, since Ancient Apparition's abilities all cost a sizable amount of mana, and Pugna's Netherworld does so much work especially against heroes like the Wraith King that only have one active ability, just because the negative mana degen aura can be enough sometimes to tip Wraith King below this critical threshold of 140 mana that he needs to either use his Wraithfire Blast or to reincarnate. And if Wraith King doesn't have reincarnate, especially if he's that 4-position role, he's essentially a wasted hero in the lineup. Since every time you have a reincarnate, assuming that the reincarnate isn't wasted during the engagement, assuming you've got good initiation, you can pretty much take a fight just off the back of reincarnate. Fourth pick coming up from Moving EXP will be interesting to see what hero they choose to pick up for their fourth hero. Their tri-lane has already been sorted out, unless it's an offlane Mirana, but very rare to see that sort of thing, especially with the current metagame. Tidehunter still is in the pool, so they can pick up Tidehunter as their offlaner, and then they could deliberate for their fifth and final pick over in the mid lane. So the mid lane hero is usually the one that could be most easily counterpicked. And so far, none of the teams seem to have really come up with an effective counter to the Tidehunter. Just because he's such a tanky presence and so difficult to bring down. If he's able to get a 2-3 man anchor smash with a few points up in Kraken Shell, your attacks are basically scratching him. It'll be interesting to see what Moving EXP decide to pick up. They're starting to dip into the reserve time. If they pick up their mid lane hero now, they've got a Slark. So it could be the Slark offlane or the Slark mid. Most likely will be Slark mid, unless they decide to go 1v1. In which case, Doombringer in the offlane 1v1 up against the Slark. The advantage actually favors the Slark, just because with Essence Shift, he trades a lot more favorably than Doombringer. But that being said, if Doombringer is the first one to get level 6 before Slark, and he's got enough mana for Doom, he could actually kill Slark very easily. So Slark has to be incredibly careful. And since Slark has been picked up with Bloodseeker still in the pool, we could actually be seeing something like a Bloodseeker mid or a Bloodseeker in the tri-lane, and Doombringer in the offlane. Bloodseeker hard counters Slark so badly, it's not even fair. So long as Bloodseeker's alive, he doesn't even have to do anything. Completely disables Slark's regeneration from Shadow Dance if he's below half HP, which he very often is, just because he's such a squishy hero, and he's going to be eating a lot of the blind fire stun spells from the Pugna, the Netherblast. The Netherblast will blow off about half his HP. Brewmaster being picked up, so that's going to be their mid lane hero. Looks like a tri-lane Doom so far, unless they decide to pick up the Bloodseeker, in which case they could go for the Doombringer and the top lane. Another reason why the Bloodseeker is so effective against the Slark is with your silence with the Q. With the Blood Rage, if you catch out Slark, even if he Dark Packs right as you silence him, you cannot purge off the Blood Rage. So if Slark is silenced, there's absolutely nothing he can do. Slark is a hero that relies entirely on Dark Pact as well as Pounce Speed to keep himself alive. If he isn't able to predict stuns, and purge them off, he dies very quickly. He's an incredibly squishy hero, and he's a snowball dependent hero as well. He has to get a lot of kills in the early stages of the game, and to be able to exert his influence across the map, similar in a sense to the Clinks, but not as reliable, just because Slark is very finicky in lane. Clinks is a much better laning presence. In a one-on-one matchup, Clinks has a high chance of winning just because of the Searing Era orb harassment. Slark, on the other hand, it's all dependent on who the hero is. For instance, if they're able to pick up a Tidehunter will completely destroy Slark in lane in the one-on-one matchup. 1v3, Slark doesn't do too well as well. If the support heroes are on top of him and are able to constantly control the creep equilibrium, deny him a lot of experience. Venomancer being banned out. Bit of an interesting ban, all things considered. Could be an offlane Doom and a tri-lane Venomancer, but would be a bit of a gamble. Pandarian Brewmaster most likely going to be mid. We could be seeing a Doombringer mid, but Doombringer in the mid lane isn't as effective as a Doombringer in the offlane, just because while he does have good base damage and is fairly beefy, he's got 0 armor, and he's not able to really go for many gank opportunities. Doom is very powerful. It's a 2-minute cooldown. You want to sit in the lane for as long as possible, get as much farm. So he really excels in the 1v1 offlane position, where once he gets Doom, he can Doom the enemy hero, kill them, and then resume farming until he's at least able to force a rotation. So 5th ban, they ban out the Tidehunter. That pigeonholes the Slark into going into the mid position, unless they decide to pick up another mid, in which case Slark is going to be the offlaner. But Bloodseeker still is in the pool, so they have to be very careful. Templar Assassin, that's going to be a mid hero. It's an offlane Slark, unless they decide to switch it up and have an offlane Mirana, in which case they'll have a Wraith King Ancient Apparition Slark tri-lane, which is very powerful. But Mirana in the offlane isn't actually able to accomplish all too much, just because she's got such low base damage. But that being said, similar to a Slark, the reason why she functions as an offlane hero is you can leap out. If they try to catch you out with a stun, they go for an Enigma, so massive amounts of teamfight presence coming out from them. From the Yolo brand Swagtronics, so Brewmaster mid, going to be the Pugna farming in the bot lane with the Shadow Shaman to back him up. Enigma in the jungle, so 2+1, and then the Doombringer in the offlane. Over for the mid lane, Templar Assassin up against the Brewmaster should have a fairly easy time. That being said, Brewmaster is incredibly powerful in a one-on-one matchup, especially with the recent rework to Drunken Roller. And we could be seeing, yeah, Koki, usually the offlane player, so he's going to be the Slark in the offlane position then, in which case we're going to be seeing a farming position Mirana with a support position Wraith King. Since when there's a hero such as an Enigma or a Doombringer on the enemy team, you really don't want to have Wraith King being your farm priority. It's very easy to kite, especially with Pugna being able to decrypt whatever target you're chasing. A few 4-staffs up on them. Brewmaster can always control him by cycling him up, forcing him to go for a BKB. Mirana at least is a lot more elusive, and never mind, it's going to be the 1-position Wraith King. Emma Leeson, the 4-position player for the team, going to be over on the Mirana. And a quick pause coming out from the boys from MX, as they've been having a fair few difficulties with their internet, so it should be interesting to see how this final game goes, considering the risky pickup of the Slark, as well as the risky pickup of the Pugna for both teams. So both teams with a few off-kilter picks. Will be interesting to see how they fare. Of course, the advantage of YBS's lineup is there's an extreme amount of push. So every time Primal Split and Doom are off cooldown, they're going to take a fight, go for a huge amount of kills, since Doombringer immediately makes it a 4v5. And the Pandarian Brewmaster makes it a 3v5. He cyclones one in the air, stuns another one. So they're starting a fight with 2 heroes being completely locked out of the engagement. If one's able to get a fantastic black hole, they can wipe them, and once you wipe them with the Eidolons, with the Nether Blast and with the Mass Serpent Wards, you could take 2 sets of towers, a tier 1 as well as the tier 2, unless they're able to respawn very quickly. If you're able to get a full wipe, you could easily clear an entire lane of towers, start nibbling on the tier 3. Since the clock is ticking for them, MX do have a fairly powerful late game lineup, but that being said, Doombringer scales incredibly well into the late game, just because he gets so fat and gets so many items. It'll be interesting to see what build he chooses to go for. Doombringer can be built in a variety of ways. It can be built as a caster Doom, in which case you go for Arcane Boots into Blink, and to maybe something like a Refresher Orb or an Aghanim Scepter or both, just to be able to provide that double Doom in these engagements. If you could lock down 2 heroes, you don't even have to do any right-click damage. You have to stand there and watch as they reduce to melee creeps. You can go more into the right-clicking carry Doom, where you see something like Phase in the Drum, Soul Cuirass. You could even see a very early Shiva's Guard, or you could even see both, in which case it makes him more or less completely impervious to physical DPS, since you've got about 50 armor, especially if you add the Ice Ogre armor on top of that. Since Doombringer can simply eat the Alpha Wolf, and that gives him a free plus 30% damage aura, as well as the free inbuilt crit. So it means that Doombringer as a carry is fairly powerful, just because all he has to do is get tanky. And as long as he's able to stick to you, which he can with Phase Boots and with the Scorched Earth, you just right-clicking down and do a lot of ruckus. But that being said, Pandarian Brewmaster, if you're unable to break high ground the first 35 minutes, tapers off quite significantly, just because the later the game goes, the more his Brewlings taper off. Once the enemy carries have enough right-click damage, you can simply kill the Wind and the Ember and the Fire Panda the instant he splits. Since the Wind Panda's the majority of their lockdown, and the Fire Panda's majority of his damage, he's the only Brewling that does hero damage, the rest of them do piercing, which is heavily reduced by the hero armor. It's a throwback from Warcraft 3 Dodo. So it'll be interesting to see what item Brewmaster goes for. Most likely will be Arcane Boots into Blink Dagger, follow up with the Aghanim Scepter as soon as possible, since it gives you a huge amount of burst damage. Brewmaster going to the mid lane. Just going to introduce the players from both teams. Pengu, the mid lane player, going to be on the Pandarian Brewmaster. Shepherthorn, who's the offlane player or the 1-position player respectively, going to be the offlane Doombringer, going to the safe lane. So they want to clash Tri-v-Tri, which is very risky, considering the fact that it's a 2+1. With Enigma, it looks like he's actually going to his own jungle. So very risky plays coming out from YBS. Curry Puffs is the carry position player over on the Pugna. So he's going to be the farming Pugna. And XYL, who was the 5-position Ancient Apparition in the last game, he's going to be the Shadow Shaman this time. They're going for a level 1 Roshan, very sneaky of them. That's the power of the Wraith King, but they have to take this fairly quickly. They've got 50 seconds to take it before the creep spawn, so it gives them an extra 20-30 seconds before the creep wave actually reaches the lane. Since they're not able to kill Roshan in time, they're losing a lot of free EXP. A bit surprising that the Templar Assassin chose to go for Refraction and not Meld. Meld does actually speed up Roshan, just because any ability that reduces armor, never mind, he did go for Meld. Any ability that reduces armor, so it makes it a lot more efficient for killing Roshan. So he's got a huge amount of EHP through his HP, so the only way to decrease is by removing his armor. They're copying a lot of damage. They're going to be able to take this Roshan, but it could be fairly costly. Actually, that's not being contested at all. The boys from YBS have no idea what's going on. The balls are moving EXP in the final game 3 that determines whether or not they move on to the finals. Deciding to go in with the all-out strategy. And they're able to take it. Roshan, creep wave, Templar Assassin unfortunately is going to be a block off the creep wave, but he's going to make it in time, and it looks like they won't decide to clash Tri-v-Tri, since they know that the Enigma is going to be jungling passively. And so Slark's rotating over to the top lane where he has protection of the tower. It's going to be a 2v1 matchup with Shadow Shaman picking up the double damage rune. Whereas it's going to be 3 heroes in the bottom lane. So I'm fucking blind on the 1 position Wraith King. Point up in the stun as well as a point up over in the Vampiric Aura. Koki has to be very careful, just has to passively leech EXP. Since so long as he's on point with his Dark Pact, he could easily purge off the amount of disable coming out from the Shadow Shaman, or he could simply just not be there to begin with and pounce himself away when Shadow Shaman starts to move a bit too close. I'm fucking blind. Simply lasting as much as possible. Shepherd Thumb, he knows that he just has to play very safe. If he's able to get experience, he can find gold later on just through Devour, so he doesn't necessarily have to worry about it. And I'm fucking blind, off to a very good start. Magic Stick up on him to ensure that he always will get 2 Wraith Fire Blasts off with full mana. Last inning very effectively. Looks like he hasn't missed a creep so far. Pengu over in the mid lane, going toe to toe up against Light Shiver. Drunken Haze doing a lot of work, and especially with the point up in the Drunken Brawler as well. It's going to be difficult for Light Shiver to be able to contest last hits. 1 for 1 on Light Shiver, so even though he got, and over in the bottom lane actually looks like the Mirana was able to get the kill, so it looks like Fire Blast, Arrow with the Chilling Touch and the Cold Feet just for good measure. Very difficult lane for the Doombringer to be in. So good recognition coming up from MX. They know that YBS, they're heavily dependent with the greedy Enigma in the jungle. It's 2+1. They can't clash try be try. So the best way to punish a greedy jungle pickup is to clash try be try. So if you leave them alone, the Enigma, if he's efficient with his jungling patterns where they find a huge amount of gold, Enigma is probably the most efficient jungler in the game, aside from maybe a Chen. If you've practiced it enough, Light Shiver's actually going to be very careful. If Clap was off cooldown, if he had enough mana for Clap, that could have been a kill, but he's able to get Refraction off just in time. But even then, he's got the Aegis the Immortal. He actually might even just sacrifice himself just so he doesn't have to go back to base. He's not really too fussed with it. The Aegis is going to be wearing off in about 4 more minutes anyway. But I'm fucking blind with the early point up in the aura as well as an early point up in the crit. Boots up on him is going to make Shepherd Therm's job that much harder. Very, very aggressive ward being placed. It's used to spot out the Enigma when he's jungling, so it forces the Enigma to only hang around these 2 camps. Unless he wants to be at risk of his support rotation. Over in the top lane, Koki's got to be careful, turn into chicken. Shackle, unfortunately no Shackle. He opted for a point over in Decram, which almost actually killed him. If he had a point in Shackle instead of Hex, that would have been a kill. But the tier 1 in the bottom lane takes a fall, and with that, they can actually rotate into the jungle. Try to get a kill over in the Enigma to shut him down as well. And then keep pressuring the lane. Aegis Immortal's going to be reclaimed in 3 minutes. So Light Shiver hanging around a sliver of HP. Just with the Refraction, he's able to stay in the lane at such low HP. And should he die, he's not really too fussed. He's got the Aegis, which will bring him back up to full HP. Doing as much damage as possible to Pengu before he dies. 1 more hit from Pengu. Pengu pops the invisibility rune. He wants to go on this, but he knows that it's only going to be in vain. The Aegis Immortal actually misses the clap. And he has to be very careful right now in case the supports are rotating in. Emma Leeson waiting the wings as well as Fresca. And I'm fucking blind. Looks like he's rotating over. He's still hanging around the bot lane, getting as much farm as possible. Slark actually rotated bot, so he doesn't want any part of the top lane. So they might actually switch it up and send the tri-lane top now. Light Shiver still staying alive. Pengu cancelled the attack. Now pops the Aegis the Immortal. But he's a bit too far forward. Arrow flies out. Actually catches on Pengu. Fantastic arrow coming out from Emma Leeson. Didn't even have any kind of setup. And Pengu takes a return and gets killed by Light Shiver. Great recognition coming out from MX. And they should be able to start pressuring the tier 1 in the bottom lane. They decide to rotate. And so Wraith King, he should be going over to the top lane since he'll be having reincarnated up fairly shortly with the way that he's been farming. Treads up on him. But the top lane tower, Curry Puff's doing what he can with the Nether Blast. Able to do a lot of chip damage. Glyph has been used. It's a 5-minute window they could take that tier 1 tower, but this early on, using Glyph isn't really too much of a big deal. Pengu, despite having an early CS lead through the Drunken Haze, has started to taper off. Koki, he's off to a pretty good start. Slark against Doom, especially Slark with a EXP advantage up against Doombringer, should fare very well. Every time Doom goes in for a last distance, a melee hero can pounce him, going for a few cheeky stabs with the Essence Shift. And with the Orb of Venom as well, you trade a lot more efficiently than Doombringer does, especially since Doom has no Stout Shield and 0 armor. Pengu continuing to use the Drunken Haze to try to control the lane up against Light Shiver. And doing the best they can. Roshan will be respawning fairly shortly. If one of the support heroes picks up a medallion, they can always keep clearing out Roshan. XYL playing very passive, very far back since the tri lane has rotated top. They were unfortunately able to get the kill over in the top lane. Curry Puffs looks like he's going to the bottom lane. So they continue to switch up their lanes. A bit surprising considering Slark actually does very well against Pugna if he's able to catch him in the pounce. Netherblast doing all he can to keep Koki back, but Koki's going to have his Shadow Dance up fairly shortly. Tranquil Boots now up on Shephertherm. And Enigma farming up a Storm. He has to get a mechanism as soon as possible, since he's going to be the one that could try to hold the line in the mid game, especially if the enemy team decide to fight as 5. I'm fucking blind. Almost has Reincarnate. Got 2 stuns up with the Magic Wand charges. He's playing very far forward, since he knows that there's nothing that the enemy team can do unless they TP in, but in which case you're buying space for your other heroes to be able to find farm. Fresco being pinged out, so they know they don't want to do anything too crazy. Emily's been absolutely on point. Looks like he's feeling for the Medallion of Courage. Great pickup from him, especially since MX have the die side advantage. Having Medallion of Courage really speeds up how quickly you can take out Roshan, especially with the meld coming out from the TA. 4 heroes now over in the mid lane, but TA's already rotated. Invis as well as Haste. XYL is going to be eating a few right clicks. He's going to die. There's nothing he can do. Even if he tries to turn him into a chicken, Emily's there to take the kill instead. Templar Assassin gets a free kill. They're going to be able to take the tier 1 over the top lane. And Koki, he's going to have level 6 off the back of that creep wave. So he's got Shadow Dance. He's just going to hold on to his gold. He wants Blink Dagger up as soon as possible over the top lane. Shephertherm is going to get a kill on Emily's just off the Scorched Earth damage, but the Curry Puff takes a fall. Fresco is actually going to take a fall to Primal Split, doing a lot of work. Cyclone's up to Wraith King, making him completely useless. Wernson turns around, he's got Black Hole off cooldown, but there's nothing he can do. He doesn't want to come in against Light Shiver. Light Shiver's already dead. Fucking Blind runs. He doesn't have enough mana for his Reincarnate. Never mind. Pops a stick charge, but he doesn't want to waste his Reincarnate as well. Could have actually been a bit of a misplay. He probably would have preferred to die as opposed to wasting that level 1 Reincarnate. Since he's going to die again, there's no way he can survive this. Doom being committed. Pengu, unfortunately, no mana. Looks like he's going Treads. Very interesting build. You usually almost always build Arcane Boots on the Brewmaster since he has such huge mana issues. But I'm fucking blind. Mine actually live. They don't have enough lockdown. They're out of mana. Never mind the decrap. One more right click as well as the life drain. And Shephertherm recovers very nicely. And they're grouping up for the mid lane with the Pugna Netherward being dropped to commit to this. TA actually very surprised to continue to TP in. Would have cancelled that TP with the meld. They don't have his sentries. He knows this. Turns around, does a lot of damage over in Curry Puffs. Curry Puffs has to be very careful. Koki gets them out with the pound toward the Dark Pact. Wentz is going to be taking more. Turns around the Black Hole just on 1 however. However, Slark was able to get that Shadow Dance off. Shephertherm takes one more right click. They lose the Enigma as well as the Black Hole. It's a 3-minute cooldown. XYL going high while the rest of his team go low, trying to draw some fire from the rest of his team. Koki gets a few cheeky stabs in. He's going to be able to turn around and kill him. Shackles him, but Emily's and just says thanks for the gold. Gets one more right click. If he had enough for an Ether Shock, he'd at least do a bit more chip damage. Curry Puffs fleeing for his life, trying to juke in the tree, turns around with the life drain, but the Wraith Fire Blast shuts him up. And MX walking all over the boys, the Yolo brand Swagtronics, and Roshan is up. So once they take this tier 1 mid, they can look to take Roshan, especially with the Medallion of Courage. And so far the game's not looking too good. 1,500 EXP lead in favor of Team MX. Pengu TP's in. No Primal Split, so he's going to be very careful. He's eating a lot of damage. Shephertherm's running in as well. No Doom. He's going to have Doom up in 10 seconds. And both teams wisely retreating. Emily's able to get a great arrow to keep his teammates alive.
The Radiant's bottom tower has seen better days.
And they're going to back off, lick their wounds, and try to push that. While the boys from the Radiant side are going to try to take the tier 1 tower mid. Roshan's going to be respawning in 50 seconds, and they must be aware of this. With the Nether Ward, with the Nether Blast, sorry, doing so much damage to the tower. Tier 1 pops instantly. They can keep pressuring the tier 2, at least force the enemy team to have to fight as 5, since they have all their ultimates apart from Black Hole. But with Primal Split and with Mass Serpent Wards, they can actually keep pressuring this and take this tier 2 if they decide to commit the Mass Serpent Wards for this, but especially the Eidolons. Mass Serpent Wards being committed, being able to take 2 towers in the span of a minute. They're forced to defend this. They can't give away 2 towers for nothing. Pengu actually copying a lot of damage. He actually dies before he gets Primal Split off. Light Shiver comes in, shackled up, as well as Doomed. He's going to be smacked down. Koki doing as much damage as possible. He's disabled with the Shadow debuff. Never mind, Ancient Apparition on his team. He actually dies right before he gets a kill. A fucking blind leader tries to go Wraith Fire Blast, throws it out on Shephertherm. Pengu bought back for this. He has to catch them out of the Drunken Haze. Knows that Reincarnate's on cooldown, catches out Unfucking Blind with one more right click with the crit, and then maybe a haze, but turns around actually gets caught up with the Cold Feet. And they're just barely able to hold their tier 2. Actually going to be looking to deny that as soon as possible. Smoke pulled up by the Wraith King, so he wants to go for Roshan now that Roshan's up. Give it again to the Templar Assassins as Wraith King has his Reincarnate. Having 7 lives against 5. and try to take an engagement off the back of that. Tread's being built up, so it's going to be a very active early game Wraith King. He knows that the later the game goes, the more difficult it's going to become to carry this. He doesn't necessarily want to try to push his luck. He wants to be that early mid-game presence, which is what Wraith King excels at. Emmeliesen, there we go, he gets that last hit to deny it. Enigma actually chooses to go for a Blink Dagger as opposed to a Mechanism. Very surprising. Would have personally preferred the mech just because it provides a huge amount of teamfight presence, but it looks like Pugna's on mech duty. So that frees up Wanton to go for the Blink Dagger. So hopefully we should be seeing some crazy black holes coming out from them. Quick golden EXP check. 2,000 gold lead in favor of Team Moving EXP. 3,000 EXP lead. The EXP lead is much more significant, especially 11 minutes into the game. Slark, 500 gold off his Blink Dagger, but if he's caught out, especially with Shepherd running up to him, Doom is all going to be up cooldown in 5 seconds. Chose to go for Drums of Endurance first. Pengu catches him out with the clap. Koki's very low and usually can rely on Shadow Dance, but the Shadow Dance regeneration is going to be enough. He pounces himself into the trees. Pengu, if he actually lands another clap, it should be enough to kill him, but the Shadow Dance regeneration keeping him alive. Curry Puffs catches him out, clips him with the Nether Toxin, with the Nether Blast. And Slark just simply TPs his way on home with Medallion Courage, with the Meld, as well as the Arrow. They should be able to take this Roshan very quickly. And they should be able to do so in time to be able to defend that Tier 1 in the bottom lane. Otherwise, it'll be a trade. Tier 1 for the Roshan, but with the rate that Roshan's dying and with the Ice Blast flying in, they should be able to get their cake and eat it too. 3-man Ice Blast. Templar Assassin with the Aegis of the Immortal. The Radiant side really have to back off right now. Unless Warnson's able to land the best black hole of his life. Moonlight Shaman committed, but I think Slark, when they revealed that, he walked in before he faded fully. He's able to catch out XYL. Aaron flies out, catches the Shepherd Throne. Warnson immediately being caught with the pounce. Forces the black hole only on one. Koki's more than happy to tank this for the rest of his team. So forces the buyback. Shepherd Throne uses the Doom right before he dies. I'm fucking blind. Got Reincarnate off cooldown. Runs forward. He doesn't really care if he dies. He's got enough mana to pop the Reincarnate. It's actually going to two-shot Curry Puffs. Never mind. Curry Puffs decreps him. Shadow Shaman's actually able to kill Fresco in the background. I'm fucking blind, doing so much work. He's going to be able to kill one. Pengu should be able to flee for his life. Very surprised he chose to go for Treads. Once again, Pengu really seems to enjoy Treads over Arcane Boots. Maybe he just enjoys Tread swapping. Fleeing for his life as I'm fucking blind, holding his shrouds as well as Light Shiver. Light Shiver's Aegis is still up on him. At least pops to Reincarnate. So it's a pretty big cooldown. Another 4 minutes when they don't have the Reincarnate. And that's a critical kill as well, critical Reincarnate as well, considering the fact that he was just shy of having the level 2 Reincarnate, which was dropped by 100 seconds, a significant loss for the enemy team. But that being said, with the Aegis of the Immortal up on the Templar Assassin, they can still take these engagements. Black Hole was wasted on one. And they're grouping up for the Tier 2 to at least do a bit of chip damage. Shepherd Throne, doing what he can to recover, might be building a Vladimir's offering, just provides himself a bit of armor. Chose to eat the Ice Ogre creep just because it provides such a huge increase in survivability for Doombringer. He's got a huge amount of HP just because of his high strength gain. But what he's lacking is agility, so therefore he lacks in the armor. Pengu, he really needs to farm up his Blink Dagger. The biggest drawback of going for Treads is it means that he will be able to use all of his ability. He'll be able to blink in, get the clap, get the primal split, but he won't have enough to use the Drunken Haze. While I say that, Mass Serpent Ward's been committed to drive them off. Defense of Mass Serpent Wards, able to quickly get a kill on Pugna. Light Shiver actually goes way too far forward, but he's got Aegis the Immortal. Bit of a wasted Aegis, not too sure what he was doing that far forward. Yasha up on him, they should be able to kill him again unless his team is all fully commit. They're able to kill the Enigma as well as the Shadow Shaman. He's going to be taking a fall with the Doom, but Shepherd's also taking a fall. 4 for 1 trade. Actually, I'm fucking blind's going to be very careful. One more right click. Just barely keeps himself alive using the 1 charges. And the Mass Serpent Ward's being farmed by Emmeliesen in the background. There's a lot of gold going his way. So Tread's into Yasha builds. Tread's actually the superior boot choice for the Templar Assassin. Especially once you're able to pick up the Yasha. Gives you a huge amount of DPS. Interesting what build he chose to go for. Fresco actually kills himself to the bug, the Nether Ward. Not too sure what he was thinking. He saw the ticks of damage coming out. He saw the debuff. Could have chosen to back away. Instead blows himself up. Pretty neck and neck game as both teams slugging it out. 4,000 gold lead in favor of MX and 7,500 EXP lead, which is much more important this early on. Pengu still doesn't have a level 2 primal split. Blink Dagger now up on the Slark. All Slark has to do is jump on the Enigma in these engagements. Keep Enigma from being black hole the rest of his team. Even if he dies, if he's able to bring the Enigma down with him, or bring him down low enough that his teammates can clean up. More than a worthwhile trade. He can run in with the Dark Pack ready as well as the pounce. The instant the Enigma looks like he's going to black hole him, press R with the Shadow Dance. That way he can tank himself. He can stay alive through the black hole, especially if he commits to just on him. That's going to require some excellent reflexes coming out from Koki. Eidolon's trying to do some bit of farming over in the mid lane. Enigma looks like he's probably going to be going for a BKB so he could get an uninterrupted ultimate off. Pugna, mech up on him. That's the mech that they needed 5 minutes ago if they wanted to fight. But unfortunately, with the Roshan advantage as well as the tower advantage going in favor of the enemy team, especially with the tier 1 over in the top lane just taking a fall.
Not so radiant anymore, it turns out.
Both teams have to be fairly careful. So the TP over to the bottom lane, try to defend. So that's the one avenue that YBS can try to recover is by going for tower kills. Wraith King denies the tower, reincarnate, still not on cooldown, still not off cooldown, 60 seconds to go. 2,400 gold, he's been holding his gold. I guess with the drums, he doesn't want to go for a blink on top of that. He wants to build a lot more carry items, but never mind. Chooses to go for blink on top of drums.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
So Wraith King will be able to be that tanky frontline presence, especially with TA and Slark doing the thing in the background. TA in this case is the true 1 position, Wraith King is mainly the 2, and Slark being the 3. All he has to do is draw fire and draw spells away from TA. He could go to town on everybody else. Visibility rune being used by Pengu. I think it might have been spotted out though. Light Shiver. Throwing out some Ancients. Maxed out Meld Strike as well as maxed out Psyblade. Looks like he's going for either a BKB or a Desolator. Probably would like to see a Desolator up on him just so he could two-shot the squishy support heroes. But that being said, a BKB would be an incredibly good pickup, especially considering the fact that Pandarian Brewmaster can otherwise go for solo kills or remove him from the fight with the Cyclone. Panda has to be on point with his primal splits. He has to always make sure that he's either cycloning the Templar Assassin or the Wraith King. At this stage in the game, the Templar Assassin is the higher priority target. Since you can't kill her unless you commit a lot of resources, you just want to get her out of the way, try to kill everybody else. So your other force to cyclone the Templar Assassin, or you want to cyclone the Wraith King. Koki's got Shadow Dance, so he should be keeping himself alive just barely. That Shadow Dance regeneration, if it wasn't level 2, could have potentially been a kill. So that Nether Blast did a lot of damage. XYL going a bit too far forward. Amalisen trying to go for a kill, he dies as well. With one more cheeky right click coming out from him. But Shadow Shaman ends the spree. Doom as well as Mass Serpent Ward's been committed, so it's 2 very big ultimates. The boys from MX can group up for a fight, especially with Reincarnate up. So they really need to pressure the enemy team and take advantage of the fact that they no longer have their 2 biggest team fight spells, which is Mass Serpent Wards as well as the Doom. Brewmaster still has split. He's still not level 11 though, so level 1 primal split. When the enemy team has their level 2 ultimates, not going to be all too effective. I'm fucking blind. Fleeing for his life. Reincarnates off cooldown. He's going to be maxing out that Vampiric Aura now. Works very well with the Templar Assassin. Should be able to heal up a lot of damage. XYL going for the D-Ward, no rune there. And Illusion rune being pinged out. And massing to go for a push over in the tier 1 mid. Koki Blink Dagger up on him. Will be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for. Probably going to be seeing something like a Ayaskadi up on Slark. BKB is a situational pickup for Slark as opposed to a core item like it is on a lot of other heroes. You can go for a BKB, but with the HP from the Ayaskadi, assuming you can get your Shadow Dance off, you'll actually regenerate any HP you lose. Shevathon, Arrow scouts him out. He's doing the best to keep Ice Armoring as allies. He's recovered fairly well, considering how bad of a start he had in the situation that he's been given. Will be interesting to see what item he's choosing to go for. Very aggressive wards being placed by Amalisen before he died. These 2 wards providing vision of behind the tier 1 and behind the tier 2 of the Radiant side, so that means that they can spot any TP rotations coming in. Let's see where the enemy heroes are grouped up. Enigma, 2,000 gold up on him. He's holding onto his gold, which is a bit surprising. Would like to see him tank up a bit, just so that if Slark goes to them, he can at least keep himself alive a bit longer, or if he's able to get a black hole off, he doesn't die immediately. Brewmaster looks like Blink Dagger's finally flying up to him. It's a very delayed Blink Dagger, very delayed level 2 primal split as well. Ancient Apparition almost has his Aghanim Scepter, about 1,000 gold shy. Amalisen looks like he could even be going for a Maelstrom or Desolator of his own. Since TA is going for the Desolator, most likely going to be a Maelstrom coming up in the Mirana. And there you have it. TA, 700 gold off the Desolator if she wants to go for it. Wraith King probably going to be building the Assault Cuirass up on him, or he might want to go for the Blade Mail next since he's going to be blinking and initiating. Given a lot of free farm over in the bottom lane in terms of net worth, you see the 3 cores for MX, more farm than the 3 cores over at YBS, and that's the Roshan tower advantage as well as the kill lead. They'll be able to CS a lot more just because they've been given a lot more space to be able to solo farm.
I feel sad for them.
Roshan's now up and they're pinging it. Light Shiver spots out a double damage over in the bottom line. Actually gets stolen by Pengu. Immediately backs away. He's got to be very careful. Templar Assassin doesn't want to give away anything unless she absolutely has to. That Drunken Haze completely inhibiting her farming capability. And they're going in for Roshan. They should be able to clear it very, very quickly, just between the two of them. The Medallion of Courage constantly being applied by Amalisen. The Vampiric Aura to ensure that Unfucking Blind can keep tanking. And the Meld negative armor coming up from them. Templar Assassin once again will be picking up the Aegis the Immortal. It's just a true one position roll. And with that Aegis kill, that's also a Desolator up on her. Templar Assassin is now absolutely terrifying. As she catches one of the support heroes in the back line, she could instantly kill them with a meld hit as well as the refract damage with the Desolator. Since with TA, you don't have to build survivability unless if you're absolutely forced. You want to build as much damage as possible so that you could instantly kill the heroes that could usually kill you. Especially when you have a hero such as a Wraith King who can draw fire, can run up, especially a Slark with a Blink Dagger, can jump and initiate. Slark starts with a Sange Yasha. With a Sange, they could be going for an S and Y. It's a not bad pickup on the Slark, just because he needs as many stats as possible. Or it could be going towards the Hellbird, but the Hellbird would be a bit of an interesting pickup considering the fact there's only one physical right clicker, and that's the Doombringer. And he's not actually right clicking that hard right now. Doombringer as well looks like he's going to want to go for the Heaven's Hellbird. 2-man Black Hole, not too bad. Koki's going to be taking a fall. Light Shiver also takes a fall as well. It's a free Aegis the Immortal. Great play coming up from Yolo brand Swagtronics. And they're going to be able to kill Templar Assassin off the back of this. Light Shiver fleeing for his life. Got a bit too cocky and paid for his life. This is the sort of thing that they needed. And Amalisen catches an arrow over on Shadow Shaman. And Wernson on point with that Black Hole. They're really starting to claw their way back into this game. EXP leads on the dip. Cranium Basher up on the Wraith King. But surprising considering the fact that Wraith King doesn't really have enough attack speed to take advantage of the Cranium Basher in the early stages of the game. Wraith Fire Blast is usually all the CC you need. So you want to pick up something like a Soul Caress or Vladimir's offering if you're playing more of a utility position role. And Melissa trying to farm up the Mass Serpent Wall. It's got a couple more damage. I might actually be taking a death here. But no, they're playing objective-based Dota. YBS, and the only way they can come back for this is if they're able to go for Rax right now, which is what they're trying to do. Midnight Pulse doing so much work. Koki's actually going to die off the back of this. Never mind, still keeping himself alive. Doom popped. Not too sure who was actually popped on. I think it might have been popped on the Templar, not on the Templar Assassin, over on the Mirana. Unfucking Blind fleeing for his life. Scott Reincarnate should really be tanking up a lot more damage, but they ignored the Wraith King, so good recognition coming out from the boys from YBS. Unfucking Blind running forward. He wants to pop the Reincarnate. So Templar Assassin can try to go for a return kill, but they lost the first set of racks. Penguin's going to be copying a lot of damage as well. He's going for that Aghanim Scepter. The Nether Blast as well as the Life Drain, doing so much work. Curry Pop's providing a lot of covering fire. That Nether Ward's been completely ignored. Doing so much work at this engagement. Koki almost dies. Going to be very careful. Wernson, he wishes he had a Black Hole right now. That would have been the best Black Hole of his life. Light Shiver's going to be able to smack him down over. Never mind, Wernson actually kills him with the Nether Ward tick as well as the Midnight Pulse being too much damage. And YBS, fantastic plays coming up from them. They not only achieved the objective, they secure a huge amount of kills, force a buyback, a dieback over in the Templar Assassin. And they're able to leverage themselves into a much better position. 2,500 gold lead, all from that one fight, as well as the tower. EXP lead, 8,000, that's an Aghanim Scepter, however, now up on the Ancient Apparition. And Unfucking Blind, they just completely ignored him throughout that fight, since they knew that he'd got Reincarnate. And while he does do a fair amount of damage, especially with that maxed out crit, it is fairly easy to cut him around to keep decrapping him. Heaven's Hellbird up, so they can use that on the Wraith King or the Templar Assassin to force her to buy a BKB. Very effective against the TA since she's a ranged hero, so it lasts for a lot longer. And Amalisen treads up on Runner as opposed to the Arcane Boots. This time, since he's gotten so many kills and gone for the Medallion of Courage, actually outputting a fair amount of right-click damage. But good plays from YBS, starting to slowly leverage themselves back in this game. Pengu Drunken Hazes the Wraith King, forces him to TP out. About 1,400 gold away from the Aghanim Scepter. So I was talking about how Pandaren Brewmaster has to breach high ground within 35 minutes, and they've done so. So the game got a lot easier for them to be able to deal with. BKB now up on Enigma, and Black Hole's coming off cooldown as well. That Midnight's Pulse did so much damage in the last engagement, was actually able to kill the TA off the back of the Midnight Pulse as well as the Nether Ward. Scouting Arrow spots out XYL. Ether Shock doing a fair amount of damage over on Amalisen. He's got the Urn of Shadows up on him. Ice Blast is actually going to catch out 3. Then when it catches out 4, it's a 17-second Shadow debuff. They have to be very careful. And Light Shiver, he has to go for a BKB now. There's no excuse. He needs that ability to be able to ignore the CC coming out, since otherwise you get decrapped, you get disarmed. So the only thing he has to worry about then is the black hole. Enigma, Weinstein, if he's able to land the best black hole of his life, they can turn around and once again go for another kill. It's the biggest disadvantage of playing against it's the biggest thing to be worried about when you're playing against a strong pushing lineup is if you lose a fight, you're also going to be losing racks. So you can't make a single mistake. You have to try to get as many kills as possible on the enemy team to slow them down, slow down that death ball push, and to try to drag it out into the late stage of the game, or go for engagements only when you know that you've got the item advantage. So while they do have the item advantage, some great positional play coming out from the Enigma as well as Pengu. Able to do a lot of work. Curry Puff, even though he's not a traditional hard carry right clicker, he's still doing a lot of damage. Looks like he's going in for the black hole. Catches only one. I'm fucking blind, however, he's got the reincarnation, so he doesn't really care. Nevermore doing so much work, they seem to be completely ignoring that. Koki doomed to the background. He's actually going to be taking a fall. A few more right clicks happening. Light Shiver has been cycloned up, so it's going to purge off the haste rune. Massive one's dropped on him as well. Curry Puff is fairly low. Light Shiver, never mind, still has the haste rune. It's not the Yule Scepter. Could have also used the spell magic. I'm fucking blind, going to be lifted up. No reincarnate up for him, so Pengu's just going to clap him once he falls to the ground. Blinks himself up to safety. There we go. Blink, clap, haze. And Curry Puff's going to be able to smack him. No, Light Shiver actually comes, surprise him, covering fire. Almost goes once, actually going to kill him. That haste rune doing so much work. He's caught up with the shackle now. Haste is just now worn off. Now he's caught up with the sheep. And with the life drain, Curry Puff's able to get a triple kill. Great play coming out from YBS. Just barely able to hold the line. Even though that black hole only caught one, they were able to kill Slark because he was able to do too much in these engagements. Now, while Slark usually is happy to go for that trade, the Wraith King found himself in a bad position. Templar Assassin was eliminated from the fight with the Cyclone, so she was removed for 8 seconds, so she couldn't do a thing. Mass Serpent was dropped on top of that. Emma Leeson and the Ancient Apparition, the only ones to survive. They're going to immediately back off. With the way that the fight's been going, it's starting to claw their way back into the game. 2,500 gold lead in favor of MX. That's fairly negligible this late in the game. About an 8,000 EXP lead. But even then, that gap is slowly closing. Despite the significant EXP and the fairly minor gold lead going in favor of MX, YBS, Yolo brand Swagtronics, they're able to hold the line, go for some pretty good trades, and actually start to turn the game around. Since they've got that one racks advantage, so they'll always have to be worried about the mid lane pushing forward. It deprives them of a lane of gold as well as experience. Since the super creeps, they only give half as much gold as regular creeps do. They're harder to bring down. It means that you effectively start slowly starving them of gold. So if you farm the other two lanes, looks like Slark did go for the S and Y. It's a much more mid-game oriented lineup. He knows that they need to fight and they need to fight now. Templar Assassin, until she gets a BKB, she's going to continuously get cycloned up in these engagements. Wernson, as well as Curry Puffs, trying to chase the TA, but TA flees for her life. Roshan will be up fairly soon. Roshan engagement will determine the next phase of the game. If the Dire Side are able to pick up Roshan, they can be a bit more ballsy, trying to go in for another kill, trying to take another tier 2 tower. I'm fucking blind, reincarnate up on him, plate mail up on him as well to significantly increase his DPS. He's now going towards the Soul Karas. Invis Rune as well being spotted out. Never mind, I think with nighttime vision they didn't see. No, they've got the Templar Assassin side trap, they know it's there. Trying to go for a pick off, but unfortunately the boys from YBS not giving them an inch. They're hanging together as 5 just in case there's something along those lines happens. Pengu's the only one playing far forward. With the Aghanim Scepter as well as the Primal Split, he's very safe and very hard to bring down. They should be able to take the tier 2 without any kind of successful defense being mounted. So they've got that well needed influx of gold to try to turn this game around. But they're going to be playing scared. All the ultimates are, all the big teamfight ultimates are up for YBS. Doom Bringer Doom completely negates either the Slark or the Templar Assassin. They've got the Mass Serpent Wards, which are doing a lot of work in these fights, especially in conjunction with the Enigma Black Hole. One of the things you have to keep in mind is the Mass Serpent Wards actually do a small amount of splash damage. And so when you've got the Enigma Black Hole to pull them in closer, you're actually dealing a fair amount of damage to their entire team. If Shadow Shaman is actually able to pick up a Blink Dagger and later on an Aghanim Scepter, his Mass Serpent Wards will actually do a lot of work in these engagements. But so far, he's just barely holding on with the Arcane Boots. He wants to get Blink Dagger so he could jump in as well. Play from a bit far back. I'm fucking blind spotted out. He's going to be the target, but at the same time, they don't really want to go on him unless they absolutely have to. Just because he's got Reincarnate. Help is on the way, but with the Templar Assassin too far to help, they're just going to leave him to his own fate. So they're forced to reincarnate for nothing. It's a level 3 reincarnate, however, it's a 60-second cooldown, and he actually blinks himself out to keep himself alive. Great play coming out from Unfucking Blind. So all he loses is the reincarnate, and the reincarnate cooldown is short enough that by the time they reach their next set of tier 2 or tier 3 towers, they'll be to have it up. BKB is now up for Light Shiver, so he no longer has to fear the Pandarian Brewmaster. He can actually kill the Rulings very quickly, or he could choose to focus fire down the Enigma or the Shadow Shaman. Doombringer, Heaven's Halberd up on him. Will be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for. Would like to see something like a Soul Caress up on him, or even a Shiva's Guard. Since he doesn't necessarily have to build damage, with the level death, the Scorched Earth, and the Doom, Doombringer does a fair amount of damage, especially if he's able to get the level death proc. 20% of your max HP you lose every time the level death procs. And over in the top lane we see Koki. His Blink Dagger hasn't really been able to accomplish all too much. It's every time he blinks in, he's immediately blown up. So he probably wants to buy a BKB now, even though there's a Black Hole that'll be a lock in place, just preventing the rest of the magic damage coming out, especially from the Pugna. They're going in for Roshan. This is being pinged out. YBS, they know that Roshan's happening. They don't think they'll be able to get there in time, but they might be able to go for a pick-off, just because Koki isn't currently there. Doom's already on Light Shiver. Moonlight Shadow being committed. They committed a Doom for this, so they have to at least try to fight now. All MX have to do is back off, wait for the Doom to wear off. They can actually go for a group engagement. Arrow flies off, and Slark continuing to do a little bit of chip damage on the top lane, just trying to push out the creep wave. Desolator up as well on the Mirana. I disagree with this. When there's one Deso up on the team, you don't really need another Desolator. Even though you've got the Medallion of Courage, really the Maelstrom would have given you a lot more DPS. Just because if you and the TA are the same target. But that being said, Desolator still is an incredibly cost-efficient item, and with the Medallion of Courage, it does give you a lot more DPS than if you decide to build towards the Molnir on a single target. But you lose the power of having that Static Storm buff, which can actually be quite critical in these engagements. Especially if you're able to use on someone like the Wraith King or the TA, who seems to be receiving the majority of the fire coming out from the enemy team. Carryplath's Aghanim Scepter up on him, so it actually gives him a substantial amount of single target DPS. You use that to quickly burn off all the reflection charges of the TA. Light Shiver, the Agency Maul as well, as a double damage rune. It'll be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for next. Could be saying something like a Butterfly. Or even it could just be building towards crit. Blink Dagger now up on Doombringer, so he could be the one jumping into the fray and initiating. And he's very tanky, especially with the Ice Ogre buff as well as the evasion. Actually, Templar Assassin might be forced to go for an MKB just to counteract the Brewmaster evasion as well as the evasion on the Doombringer. The MKB True Sight significantly increases your DPS against targets that have any kind of evasion. Especially with the blind coming out from Pengu whenever your BKB wears off. The blind is the reason why Wraith King has been so ineffective in these engagements. All he has to do is drunken haze him and leave him alone. If he's not able to land any of his right clicks, even though he can throw out the Wraith Fire Blast, he's not really too much of a threat. So you can completely ignore the Wraith King, turn around, try to kill everybody else, and then focus the Wraith King down last. Since focusing the Wraith King is exactly what he wants you to do, he's the tankiest hero in their team by far, and he's got Reincarnate on top of that. You really don't want to be attacking him at all. Unless you can ensure that you get the other kill. So once you've killed off the enemy team, and the survivors have backed off, that's when you want to go for a kill over the Wraith King. Currypuff's probably going to be building a Sheepstick next. Or maybe even a BKB of his own. So he could use the Life Drain to be able to force back the Wraith King. Wraith King without the BKB, he can't duel the Pugna unless he's able to interrupt him with a stun. He's going to be constantly forced back. You could decrep him and Life Drain his HP away. Wraith King almost is a BKB. So just a casual plate mail up on him. He realizes the power of the Drunken Haze, the Pandarian Brewmaster, with either the Cyclone to remove his presence from these fights, or the Drunken Haze, which prevents him from being the right click. Templar Assassin leading the charge with a double damage rune. Defense refraction charges immediately burned off. Age is going to be reclaimed in 3 minutes. They have to make a play happen now, rather than later. So they're going to go in for the bot lane. In terms of net worth, MX still are leading the scoreboards. The superior team fight and execution coming up from YBS has enabled them to stay in the game. So even though the golden experience is still in favor of MX, it's anybody's game at this point. If either team is able to take a big fight, if YBS take another big fight, they could actually start pressuring for another set of racks, or even go for the tier 4s. Whereas if MX are able to win a fight, they also too can go for racks, or at least force out buybacks. Midnight Pulse. The Templar Illusion's doing so much damage to the tower. Top lane, Koki's going to be eating a Doom to the face. He's going to be taking one more right click from Doomring and falling. The Slark pick hasn't really been awfully effective. Looks like he's going for the Eye of Skadi. Pengu's still roaming around. His items stagnated ever since he's picked up the Aghanim Scepter. Will be interesting to see what item he chooses to go for next. Could be picking up a Vladimir's offering for his team to provide an extra +5 armor, going towards the Assault Cuirass if the Doombringer isn't going for it, or he could be picking up the Shiva's Guard with a 10-second PKB. Light Shiva's going to get one kill. Never mind, the D-Crab keeping himself alive. Doesn't want to blow the Aegis more, but looks like he might. The rest of his team is coming in. It's going to arrive way too late. They're going to have to back off right now. Unless they decide to commit to this, even without the Slark. They're able to kill XL. Primal Split's been dropped. Light Shiva has been disarmed, so now he's completely useless. Life Drain forcing him back from Curry Puffs. I'm fucking blind, turns around and Curry Puffs. Gonna throw out a few right clicks. But Light Shiva's gonna be taking forward the Brewlings. And Elysian, there's only so much you can do in the background. I'm fucking blind. He's focus fired last. Excellent execution coming up from YBS. Completely ignoring the Wraith King. It's the reason why you don't want a 1-position Wraith King. Or even a 2-position Wraith King in this case. It's a very risky strategy. Against experienced teams, they can simply disregard him. Fresco comes in as well. Tries to join in the fun. Gets slapped down. If that had a 1-position Mirana and the 2-position Mirana and had the Wraith King as a support hero, at least then it doesn't matter if they ignore him. It's not too big of a deal. So the majority of your items and gold is on the Mirana, so she could sit there and right click. But Slark being caught in a position once again. Shepard has been absolutely on point with these Dooms on the Slark, completely neuters him for these engagements. So they don't even need the Bloodseeker pickup to counteract the Slark. If he's able to get that Doom, nothing the Slark can do. They should be to take the Tier 2 tower over in the bottom lane. There's no way they could defend this. Especially with so many of their heroes dead, with so many of the big teamfight spells on cooldown. They don't have the reincarnate, although actually never mind, it just came off cooldown. They don't have the Moonlight Shadow to initiate. Even then, sentries are ready. Blink Dagger is now up on TA. Very surprised with this Blink Dagger on the TA. It's a bit too late to go for a Blink Dagger now, and it means that you're losing out on a lot more damage. Especially since you've just invested 2,150 gold in something that your other 2 cores can do for you. They've already got the Blink Pounce, the Blink Rake Fire Blast. Having a Blink on the TA is a bit too late for that. You wanted to get it a lot early on so you could snowball under control. You instead wanted something like a crit, you wanted an MKB, since otherwise you're still going to get disarmed, you're still going to get Drunken Hazed once your BKB wears off. And you're still going to have a difficult time trying to go for a kill over on the enemy cores. You've either got the Drunken Haze or the Drunken Brawler, or you've got the evasion coming out from the Heaven's Halberd. XYL denies the bot lane tower. Vladimir's offering picked up on Doombringer just provides a cheap +5 armor to the rest of his team, as well as a little bit of lifesteal and base damage. Pengu probably wants to go for something like a looks like he's going for the AC, just because the aura still propagates to the Earth Brewling, and stacking armor auras such as the Vladimir's and the Assault Cuirass is a great way for the Pandarian Brewmaster to increase his late game presence, just because his Brewlings can die so easy. Curry Puffs accidentally breaks the smoke. So he's going to sit there in the corner of shame and farm some creeps instead. Shepathone leading the charge. Could be going for he could be the one building the Shivas. He could build anything he wants to this point, so long as it gives him some kind of survivability. His teamfight presence is he's able to deal so much damage just through his leveled death and through his Doom and Scorched Earth. He doesn't necessarily have to build right-click items, and in the later stages of the game, he could swap out the Ice Ogre for the Alpha Wolf and use the free crit and free damage boost from that to be able to do his damage. Well, at the moment, YBS, they know that they've got a much stronger attrition-based lineup. They simply have to, with